I didn't catch my husband cheating. I thanked her for saving my marriage. That's how good she was. And that's how perfectly they made me look like the wife who deserved to lose everything. Until I realized she was never fixing anything. She was studying me. Her name was Claire. My best friend for 9 years. The kind of woman who always smelled like vanilla and wore soft beige coats like she stepped out of a Zara campaign. The kind of woman people trusted instantly. The kind of woman who never sounded jealous. Because women like Claire don't compete in public. They replace you quietly. Including my husband. Including me. Your marriage isn't broken. Claire told me one night, gently stirring her iced latte from Starbucks like she was about to deliver therapy. Not tea. You're just disconnected. Disconnected. That word stuck with me. Because she didn't say, he's distant. She didn't say, he's hiding something. She made it sound like we were the problem. Like I was part of it. That was her gift. She never defended him directly. She just made sure I blamed myself first. And I believed her. God. I believed everything she said. Start small. She smiled. Leave him notes. Touch him more. Surprise him. So I did. I bought silk lingerie from Victoria's Secret even though I hadn't worn anything like that in years. I cooked his favorite meals. I even started texting him during the day like we were dating again. I was relearning how to be wanted by a man who was already being wanted by someone else. And for a while, it worked. He came home earlier. He laughed more. He touched me again. And every time something improved, Claire was right there. Watching. Encouraging. Adjusting. You see? She said. Sitting across from me on my couch. Legs crossed. Sipping wine like she owned the room. He just needed the right reason to come back. And Claire said it like she was choosing one for him. I didn't realize it then, but she wasn't helping me win my husband back. She was mapping his behavior. Because the more I gave, the more she learned. What made him smile? What made him stay? What made him weak? And then one night, I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. It was small. So small I almost ignored it. A notification? On his iPhone. He had left it on the kitchen counter while he showered. And I wasn't snooping, I swear. It just lit up. Can't wait to finish what you started last night. No name. Just a heart. My stomach dropped. But here's the thing. I didn't panic. Because I trusted Claire. So I did what any loyal wife would do. I called her. Hey. I said. Trying to sound calm. I think something weird is going on with Daniel. She didn't hesitate. Not even a second. That's normal. She said softly. Don't jump to conclusions. Normal. Men pull away before they come back stronger. She added. Not like a friend trying to calm me down. Like someone protecting an outcome she had already invested in. And just like that, the doubt faded. Because Claire always had an answer. But this time, she answered too fast. That was the first crack. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry. I watched. The next few days, I started noticing patterns. He checked his phone more often. He smiled at messages he didn't show me. He started going out for work again. And every time I mentioned it, Claire downplayed it. You're overthinking. Don't push him away. Trust the process. The process. That word again. And suddenly, it didn't feel like advice anymore. It felt like control. So I did something Claire didn't expect. I stopped telling her everything. And that's when things got interesting. Because the moment I pulled back, she leaned in harder. Texts. Calls. Random check-ins. How's Daniel today? Did you try what I suggested? Are you feeling closer? She wasn't just curious. She was monitoring. And that's when it hit me. Claire didn't just know too much about my marriage. She knew too much about him. The exact things he liked. The exact timing of his moods. Even the excuses he used. Excuses. I had never told her. My chest tightened. Because there was only one way she could know that. Only one. So that night, I did something I had never done before. I didn't call Claire. I followed my husband. He said he had a late meeting downtown. But his car didn't go anywhere near his office. Instead, it pulled into a quiet boutique hotel. The kind with soft lights. Valet parking. and privacy you don't question. I parked across the street, hands shaking, heart racing, and I told myself, please don't let this be real. Please don't let this be what I think it is. Then I saw her, stepping out of a black Uber. Slow, confident, familiar, claire. Not like a woman sneaking around. Like a woman arriving for something she believed already belonged to her, wearing the same beige coat, the same soft smile, the same perfume I had hugged 100 times. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look guilty. Like she had done this before. Like she knew exactly who was waiting inside. And that's when something inside me didn't break. It changed. Because in that moment, I didn't feel like a wife who had been betrayed. I felt like someone who had been played. And if Claire had spent months studying me, then she had no idea. I had just started studying her. And I was going to be much better at it. I didn't confront them. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not even the next week. Because catching cheaters is easy. Catching the full shape of their lie is where the power starts. Because the moment you expose a liar, they change the script. And I didn't want a new story. I wanted the truth. So I went back to Claire, smiling, grateful, playing exactly the version of me she thought she understood. You were right. I told her over brunch at a quiet cafe. Sunlight. Soft music. Her favorite aesthetic. I think we're getting better. Her lips moved just enough to betray her. Not relief. Not happiness. Recognition. Like she had just checked whether I was still stupid enough to trust her. Like she had just confirmed something. Of course you are, she said, casually adjusting her Dior sunglasses on the table. Consistency always works. Consistency. Funny word. Because while she thought I was being consistent, I was already changing the rules. That same afternoon, I created a version of my life that didn't exist. And I fed it to her. Daniel's been acting weird again. I texted Claire. But this time, I think he's hiding money. 3 dots appeared instantly. What do you mean? She replied. She wasn't worried for me. She was checking whether there was anything worth stealing before the marriage collapsed. There it was. Not concern. No shock. Interest. I saw something on his laptop. I said. Some transfer. I didn't understand it. I didn't say more. Because lies don't need detail. They need space. And Claire filled that space perfectly. Don't jump to conclusions, she said again. But, keep watching. Keep watching. The same words she always used. But this time, I was watching her. That night, Daniel didn't come home until late, but he wasn't smiling at his phone. He wasn't relaxed. He looked tense. Everything okay? I asked casually, scrolling through my iPad like I didn't care. Yeah, he said quickly. Too quickly. Then he added something he hadn't said in weeks. I've just been busy with finances. Finance. I didn't react. I didn't even look up. And that was the moment betrayal stopped feeling emotional. It became logistical. But inside, something clicked into place, because I had never told him that. Only Claire knew. And just like that, the first piece of the puzzle locked in. She wasn't just sleeping with my husband. She was talking to him, sharing information, controlling the narrative on both sides. And suddenly, this wasn't an affair anymore. This was coordination. And I needed to know how deep it went. So I raised the stakes. 2 days later, I invited Claire over. Wine, soft music. The same living room where she had fixed my marriage. I think Daniel's hiding something big, I told her quietly. Something illegal. Her fingers paused on the wine glass. Just for half a second, then she smiled. You're overthinking again. But this time, her voice wasn't smooth. It was controlled. And that's when I knew I wasn't the only one setting traps. She was adjusting too. So I pushed further. I'm thinking of checking his emails tonight, I said. I need to know the truth. Claire leaned forward. Gently. Carefully. No, she said. Too quickly. Too firmly. Not like a friend protecting my feelings. Like a woman protecting access. Too fast. Too sharp. If he finds out, you'll lose him completely. Lose him? That was her fear. not mine. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. Claire didn't just want my husband. She wanted my position, my life, mi role, my place in his world. And she was trying to remove me, without making it look like she did. Clean, controlled, perfect, just like her. So I smiled, trusting. You're right. I said, I'll wait. And just like that, she relaxed again. Because she thought she had won that moment. But she didn't realize. That was exactly what I wanted. Because that night, I didn't check his emails. I did something better. I mirrored them. I set up a sync on his laptop while he showered. Quiet. Precisi. Every message. Every email. Every hidden conversation. And what I found was worse than cheating. Because this wasn't new. It had been going on for months. While she was sitting in my living room. While she was hugging me. While she was telling me how to fix my marriage. She was already in it. Planning. Adjusting. Guiding. There were messages about me. She's starting to notice. Push her to trust you more. Don't let her check anything. They weren't improvising. They were managing me. Don't let her check anything. I stared at the screen, heart steady, breathing slow, because now, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was clear. Crystal clear. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a strategy. And the worst part? They thought I was still playing the role they wrote for me. The naive wife. The grateful friend. But they made one mistake. They let me stay in the game. And now, I knew the rules. So I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and for the first time since I saw them together, I smiled. Because Claire had spent months studying me, but starting tonight, I was going to make her study something much more dangerous. A version of me she had absolutely no control over. And this time, I was the one writing the script. This story contains fictionalized elements for entertainment and educational purposes. Once I knew they were lying, I stopped behaving like the wife in their plan. I started building one they couldn't predict. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I created a version of reality and let them live inside it. Because if Claire and Daniel were coordinating behind my back, then I would make sure they coordinated exactly the way I wanted. So I built the first real trap, not with emotion, with information, 3 versions of it, 3 different stories, each one slightly different, each one given to only one person. Because I didn't just want to know who was leaking. I wanted to know who thought they were smarter than me. And then, I waited to see which version came back to me. That's how you find out who's leaking. That's how you find out who's leading. Version 1. He gave to Daniel, casually, like it didn't matter. I might get a promotion. I told him one night. Placing takeout from Uber Eats on the table, like everything was normal. Higher position? More control over finances. He froze. Just for a fraction of a second. Then he smiled. That's great, he said, but his eyes didn't match. They calculated. Version 2. I gave to Claire. Over coffee. Same place. Samitone. I'm thinking of opening a separate account. I said, just for personal savings. You know, independence. She tilted her head. Why would you need that? She asked softly. And there it was, panic dressed as concern. Soft voice. Sharp question. I don't know. I shrugged. Just in case. And there it was again. That flicker. Not concern. Threat assessment. Version 3. I didn't say out loud. I wrote it. A fake email. Saved as a draft on my laptop. About a property investment. A large one. Something that would change everything if it were real. And I left it where Daniel could accidentally find it. Then, I stepped back. And watched. Because traps don't snap immediately. They tighten. Slowly. 2 days later, Claire called me. Not texted. Called. That never happened unless something mattered. You're thinking of opening a separate account? She asked. I smiled. Silently. Because now I knew version 2 had reached her. Which meant Daniel had told her. But I didn't stop there. Because the real test was still coming. That same night, Daniel sat across from me. Quiet. Careful. So, he said, I saw something on your laptop. There it was. Version 3. What? I asked. looking up slowly. That investment thing? He said. That's a lot of money. And that's when I understood what they were tracking. Not my emotions. My exits. I leaned back. Oh, I said lightly. That's just an idea. But inside, everything locked into place. Because now I knew the full picture. They weren't just talking. They were tracking me. My money. My plans. My future. And suddenly, Claire's interest made sense. This wasn't about love. This was about positioning. Replacing me wasn't enough. She wanted to step into a life that was already built. Mine. And Daniel? He wasn't confused. He wasn't lost. He was choosing sides, and it wasn't mine. So I escalated. Because if they were watching me, I was going to give them something worth watching. The next week, I changed everything. New routines. New habits. I started dressing differently. Sharper. More controlled. Blazers from Zara. Heels I hadn't worn in years. I stopped explaining where I was going. Stopped asking where he was. Stopped being available. The cruel thing about changing after betrayal is this. The people who wasted you are always the first ones to notice your value. And just like that, the balance shifted. Because the moment you stop chasing, people start noticing. Daniel noticed. Everything okay with you? He asked one night. I've just been busy, I replied, typing on my MacBook without looking at him. Bosu. The same word he used, but it hit differently this time. Because now, he didn't know what I was doing. And that scared him. Claire noticed too. You feel different? She said during our next lunch. I smiled. Better. I corrected. She studied me. Longer than usual. Because for the first time, she couldn't read me, and that was dangerous. For her. So she pushed. You're not hiding anything from me. Right? She asked. There it was. Control slipping. I laughed softly. Of course not. And just like that, I lied. Because now, I understood something they didn't. Information wasn't power. Control over information was. And I had it. But I wasn't done. Because traps are only useful if you close them at the right time. And I was still letting them walk deeper. Still letting them believe. They were winning. Because the more confident they became, the more careless they would get. And when that moment came, I wouldn't just expose them. I would make sure they exposed themselves. Publicly. Completely. Irreversibly. So that night, as I stood in front of the mirror, I didn't see a wife who had been betrayed. I saw someone who was about to take everything back. Not by fighting, but by letting them destroy themselves. Exactly the way they planned to destroy me. And they still had no idea. I had already won the first 3 moves. The first time Claire got nervous. Nothing dramatic happened. I just stopped giving her access to me. No more full updates. No more emotional confessions. No more letting her measure whether her plan was still working. And the moment I cut off that access, she started reaching harder. No accusation. No drama. No confrontation. Just silence. And silence makes guilty people uncomfortable. So I pulled back. Completely. I stopped asking Daniel where he was. Stopped checking his schedule. Stopped reacting. And within days, he changed. Because when someone expects resistance and gets nothing instead, they don't feel free. They feel watched. Are you okay? He asked one night. Standing in the kitchen while I casually poured myself a glass of wine. I'm fine, I said, not even looking up from my iPhone. Men like Daniel don't miss love first. They miss control. And that was the moment it hit him. I wasn't chasing him anymore. And suddenly, he didn't know where he stood. Claire felt it too. But unlike Daniel, she didn't get insecure. She got aggressive. Her messages came faster. More frequent. How are things with Daniel? Did you try what I suggested? Are you still doing the routines? Routine. That word again. But now it didn't sound like advice. It sounded like maintenance. Like she was checking whether her machine was still running. So I broke them. Intentionally. I haven't really been focusing on that. I replied one afternoon. I've been busy with something else. Typing bubbles. Then, what kind of something else? I smiled. because now she was the one asking questions. I might be taking on a new project. I said, something big. I didn't explain. And that was enough to unsettle her. Because Claire didn't like unknown variables. She liked control. Predictability. But I wasn't predictable anymore. And that was the beginning of her mistakes. The first crack showed up 3 days later. We were at a small dinner. Me, Daniel, and Claire. Her idea. Of course, control works best when you can observe everything at once. She wore something sharper that night. Black dress. Heels that clicked just a little louder than usual. Not soft anymore. Competitive. She wasn't dressing for dinner. She was dressing for comparison. And Daniel noticed. Of course he did, but this time, I noticed something else. He wasn't relaxed. He was watching me. Because I wasn't reacting the way I used to. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't trying. I was distant. And distance creates pressure. So, Claire said, smiling sweetly, how's the new project? There it was. Public testing. She wanted to see what I would reveal in front of him. I picked up my glass slowly. It's early. I said, but if it works out, it could change everything. Silence. Daniel looked at me. Change what? He asked. I met his eyes. Everything. I repeated. And just like that, the room shifted. Because now, they didn't know what I was doing. And people lose control when they don't understand the game anymore. That night, Claire slipped. Just a little. But enough. Just be careful, she said quietly when Daniel stepped away for a call. Careful of what? I asked. She hesitated. Then smiled. Of making decisions too quickly? Decisions. Not emotions. Not marriage. Decisions. Money. Power. Position. And there it was again. Her real focus, so I leaned in slightly. Lowered my voice. You'd tell me if something was off, right? I asked. Her eyes locked on mine. Always, she said. And in that moment, I saw it. Not guilt. Not fear. Confidence. She still thought she was ahead. She still thought she understood me. And that was exactly why she was about to lose. The next move wasn't about them. It was about her world. Because if Claire wanted my life, then I was going to start taking hers. Quietly. Strategically. I didn't go after Claire directly. I went after the room that used to bend around her. The next event I attended. I arrived early. Not overdressed. Not desperate. Just impossible to ignore. By the time Claire walked in, I was already laughing with 2 people who used to save their warmest smiles for her. She saw it immediately. Of course she did. Her face didn't fall. Women like Claire never let it fall in public. But her eyes sharpened, because for the first time, she wasn't entering a room she controlled. She was entering one that had already adjusted to me. I carried my Louis Vuitton bag like armor, and stood there like I had finally remembered something she hoped I never would. I belonged in any room she could enter. Because confidence draws gravity. And Claire felt it. Oh. You've been busy, she said one evening. Watching me greet someone she used to call her closest contact. I smiled. Just expanding, I said. Expanding. Another word she didn't like. Because expansion means losing territory. And that's when she made her second mistake. She tried to pull me back. You don't need all that, she said later. You already have enough. Enough. That word again. The word people use when they don't want you to grow. I tilted my head slightly. Do I? I asked. And for the first time, Claire didn't have an answer. That night, as I walked into my home, Daniel was already there. Waiting. We need to talk, he said. I looked at him calmly. About what? I asked. He hesitated. Then, you've changed? I smiled softly. I know, I said. That's what happens when you stop letting people rehearse your life for you. And for the first time, he looked unsure, because he didn't recognize me anymore. And Claire? She couldn't control me anymore. And that's when I knew. The shift had happened. They weren't leading the game anymore. They were reacting. And the moment someone starts reacting, they've already lost control. So I turned off the lights. walked past him. And for the first time since all of this began, I didn't feel like I was catching up. I felt like I was ahead. Because Claire wanted my life, Daniel wanted control. But neither of them realized. I had already started taking both away. Piece by piece. Silently. And they were about to feel it. All at once. Power doesn't disappear. It shifts. And when someone feels it slipping, they don't retreat. They attack. That's exactly what Claire did. I saw it coming, but I let it happen anyway. Because sometimes, you need your enemy to believe they're winning. So they show you everything. It started small, subtle. A cancelled meeting. A missed call. A sudden distance from people who used to welcome me. At first, it almost looked like coincidence. Almost. Until it wasn't. Hey, I heard something weird. One of Claire's contacts said casually over coffee. There it was. The tone people use. When they're pretending not to judge you. About what? I asked calmly. A pause. Then, about your situation at home? My situation. I smiled slightly. What kind of situation? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. Just that things aren't as stable as they seem. Stabler. Not broken. Not ruined. Just unstable enough to make people step back. To make opportunities disappear. To make me look risky. And just like that, I understood Claire's move. She wasn't exposing me. She was positioning me. Quietly. Planting doubt. Letting it spread. So when the time came, no one would question why I lost everything. Clean. Controlled. Exactly her style. But she made one mistake. She thought I would panic. She thought I would confront her. She thought I would try to fix my reputation. Instead, I leaned into it. Completely. I canceled 2 events. Ignored a few invitations. Let the silence grow. Because silence makes rumors louder. And louder rumors make people careless. Claire didn't expect that. So she pushed harder. Are you okay? She texted. You've been distant? I stared at the message. Then typed back something she had never heard from me before. I don't think I'm okay. 3 dots appeared instantly. What do you mean? I let the message sit. 5 minutes. 10. Then, I think Daniel might be hiding something serious. There it was. Vulnerability. Or at least, what looked like it. And Claire took the bait. I told you to trust the process. She replied. You're letting your emotions ruin everything. Ruin everything. Not protect me. Not help me. Control me. Again. So I went deeper. I checked something. I said, and I don't think it's just money anymore. Pause. Then, what do you mean? There it was again. Interest. Sharp. Focused. Like she was gathering data. So I gave her more. I think he might be involved in something illegal. I typed, and then, I stopped. No explanation. No detail. Because fear grows best in incomplete information. That night, Daniel came home early. Too early. And he didn't look calm. What did you check? He asked immediately. No greeting. No pause. Just pressure. I looked up slowly from my MacBook. Check what? I asked. His jaw tightened. You know what? He said. I tilted my head. Did Claire tell you to ask me that? Silence. And in that silence, everything cracked. Because now, he knew I knew, but he didn't know how much. And that's the most dangerous place to be. For a moment, I thought he might snap. Expose everything. Break the entire game. But he didn't. Because Claire had trained him too well. Control first. Truth later. Just forget it. He muttered. And walked away. But that was the moment I almost lost control. Because for the first time, they reacted faster than I expected. Which meant one thing. Claire was escalating. And fast. The next day, it hit me, harder. A message from someone important. Due to recent concerns. We're going in a different direction. No explanation. No details. Just distance. And suddenly, this wasn't a game anymore. This was damage. Real damage. The kind that doesn't bruise your face. It bruises how people say your name when you're not in the room. To my reputation. To my opportunities. to my position. And for a split second, I felt it. Doubt. Because this was the risk. When you play the long game, you give your opponent time to hurt you. Claire had just proven she could. So I stood there, phone in hand, heart steady, and made a decision. I wouldn't stop. I would go deeper. Because now, this wasn't about catching them. This was about breaking the system they built. So that night, I did something dangerous. Something Claire would never expect. I invited her over. Again. Wine. Soft lighting. The same setting where she had always felt in control. But this time, I changed one thing. I looked vulnerable. Softer. Quieter. Like I was finally breaking. And she saw it instantly. Of course she did. Because predators recognize weakness. Especially when the weakness is one they spent months designing. I'm really scared, I said quietly. Her eyes softened. Not with empathy. With opportunity. You don't have to be, she said. Moving closer. I think I need your help, I whispered, and just like that, she stepped right back into the role she loved most. The savior. The one in control. The one who knew everything. But this time, I wasn't asking for help. I was giving her something much more dangerous, a false sense of victory. Because while she sat there, listening, guiding, smiling, she had no idea. Every reassuring word, every careful lie, every sentence she thought would keep me small, was being recorded. Quietly. Perfectly. On the one thing she never noticed. My iPhone. Face down on the table. And for the first time since this all began, Claire wasn't the one collecting information anymore. I was. And this time, I wasn't going to use it to understand her. I was going to use it to end her. And she had just handed me everything I needed. People think revenge is about revealing the truth. It's not. It's about when you reveal it. And more importantly, who sees it first. Because truth, on its own, is just information. But truth, in the right hands, becomes pressure. I didn't upload the recording. Not yet. I didn't send it to Daniel. And I definitely didn't confront Claire. Because that would have been too easy. Too fast. Too clean. And Claire didn't deserve clean. She had spent months controlling the narrative. So I did something she would never expect. I gave the narrative to someone else. I used an account no one would connect to me. Small enough to feel accidental. Sharp enough to be screenshotted. Big accounts look like strategy. Small ones look like truth slipping out by mistake. The post was simple. No names. No accusation. Just a short audio clip. Claire's voice. Clear. She won't check anything if we keep her focused on fixing the marriage. And then silence. That was it. No explanation. No context. Because mystery spreads faster than certainty. Within hours, people started asking questions. Who was she? Who was she? What marriage? And most importantly, what else was there? I didn't answer. I just watched. The next day, Claire called me. Not calm this time. Sharp. Controlled. But cracking. She still sounded polished. But polish is loud when panic is underneath it. Have you seen anything online? She asked. I leaned against the kitchen counter, scrolling casually on my iPhone. Seen what? I replied. Silence. Then, nothing. She said quickly. Just ignore anything weird. Ignore. That word again. But this time, it wasn't advice. It was fear. Because for the first time, Claire wasn't controlling the story anymore. She was chasing it. And it got worse. Because once something feels real, people start connecting dots. A second post appeared. Different account. Same voice. Don't let her check anything. Now it wasn't curiosity, it was pattern. And patterns create belief. Claire's world started shifting. Subtle at first. A cancelled lunch. A delayed reply. A meeting that suddenly became rescheduled. The same things she had done to me. Only now, they were happening to her. Daniel felt it too. But unlike Claire, he didn't understand it. What's going on? He asked one night. I looked at him calmly. With what? I replied. He ran a hand through his hair. I don't know, he said. Things just feel off. Off. That word again. Funny how it comes back around. I tilted my head slightly. Maybe you're overthinking? I said softly. And watching his face react to his own medicine was almost enough to make me smile. And just like that, I gave his own reality back to him. He didn't like it. Of course he didn't. Because gaslighting only feels comfortable when you're the one doing it. But I wasn't done. Because pressure alone isn't enough. You need direction. So I added more arleasery. A third clip. Longer this time? Still anonymous. Still no names. She trusts me more than she trusts him. And then, it's just a matter of time. That was the moment everything changed. Because now, it wasn't just suspicion. It was betrayal. And betrayal spreads fast. Claire called me again. This time, she didn't pretend. Someone is trying to ruin me, she said. I paused. Let the silence stretch. Why would someone do that? I asked. She hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, I saw it. Fear. Real fear. Because for the first time, she didn't know who was in control. And that terrified her. I don't know, she said. But it's dangerous. Dangerous. I smiled slightly. I guess some people should be more careful, I replied. And just like that, she knew. Not everything, but enough. Enough to realize she wasn't safe anymore. The next move came from her. Of course it did. Because people like Claire don't collapse quietly. They strike back. Hard. And this time, she didn't go after my reputation. She went after something else. My reality. The next morning, Daniel was gone. No note. No message. Just empty space. Just the kind of silence men leave behind when they think disappearing is cleaner than confessing. And for the first time, the game shifted again. Because now, this wasn't just psychological anymore. This was escalation. Real. And dangerous. I stood there, in the silence, phone in hand. And slowly, I smiled. Because Claire thought removing him would destabilize me, would make me panic, would make me lose control. But she still didn't understand one thing. I didn't need Daniel anymore. He was never the target. He was just part of the system. And now that the system was breaking, I could finally do what I came here to do. End it. Completely. And this time, I wasn't going to stay anonymous. There's a moment, right before everything collapses, where people think they can still fix it. Claire was in that moment. And I made sure. Everyone saw it. I didn't chase Daniel. I didn't call him. Because I already knew where he was. Claire didn't remove him. She repositioned him. And that meant one thing. She was preparing for something big. Public. Final. So I did the same. The invitation came 2 days later. A private event. Industry dinner. People that mattered. The kind of room where reputations aren't discussed. They're decided. Which meant Claire hadn't invited me there to survive the rumors. She invited me there to bury me with style. And Claire? She was hosting. Of course she was. Because if the narrative was slipping, she needed to take control of it. In front of everyone. And I walked right into it. Black dress. Simple. Sharp. Heels steady against the marble floor. My Louis Vuitton bag resting against my side like it belonged there. Because it did. The room shifted the moment I stepped in. Not loudly. Subtly. Heads turned. Whispers paused. Because rumors had already started. And now, they had a face. Claire saw me instantly. Of course she did. Her smile didn't break. But her eyes did. Just for a second. Then she walked toward me. Graceful. Controlled. Perfect. You came? She said softly. I was invited. I replied. And just like that, the tension settled between us. Polished. Sharp. Visible. Daniel was there too, standing just behind her. Not beside me. Not neutral. Behind her. He looked like a man trying to stand near power, even if it meant standing against his own wife. Position chosen. Loud enough without words. Let's not make this awkward, Claire said quietly. I smiled. I'm not the one making it awkward. And for the first time, her expression tightened. Because she realized something. I wasn't here to defend myself. I was here to watch. The dinner began. Conversations flowed. Laughter. Everything looked normal. Until Claire stood up, a glass raised, a smile perfected. "I just want to say something," she began. And just like that, the room quieted. Because this was her stage. Her moment. Her chance to rewrite the story. "I think we've all heard certain things recently," she said gently. "Controlled. Measured. Rumors." There it was. The setup. And I think it's important to address them. Of course it was. Because Claire didn't just want to survive this. She wanted to win it. She wanted to stand there, clean, while I looked unstable. So she turned and looked directly at me. Soft smile. Sharp intent. "Some people," she continued, "when they feel like they're losing control, they create stories." And she said it with that same soft voice she used when she taught me how to save the marriage she was sleeping inside. Stories. The word echoed. And just like that, she tried to frame me. Unstable. Emotional. Unreliable. Exactly the narrative she had been building. The room shifted again. Eyes moved. Toward me. Waiting. For me to react. To defend. To explain. To lose. But I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched her. Because this was the moment. Not when I exposed her. When she exposed herself. So before anything gets out of hand, Claire said smoothly, "I think it's best we keep things grounded in reality." Reality. I almost smiled. Because she had no idea. Reality was already about to hit her. I reached into my bag. Slow. Calm. And placed my iPhone on the table. Face up. The room watched. Not understanding yet. Claire's eyes flickered. Just slightly. Because something felt off. And that's when I finally spoke. "You're right," I said softly. The room froze. "We should stay grounded in reality." And then, I tapped the screen. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Truth sounds louder when the room is already holding its breath. Audio. Her voice filled the room. Clear. Unfiltered. She trusts me more than she trusts him. Silence. Then, it's just a matter of time. The sound didn't need to be loud. It just needed to be undeniable. And it was. Claire didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Because for the first time, she wasn't controlling the narrative. She was the narrative. Murmurs started. Whispers. Eyes shifting. Daniel stepped back. Not toward her. Away. And that was the moment she lost. "Would you like me to play the part where you stop sounding helpful and start sounding guilty?" I asked calmly. No anger. No emotion. Just control. Because power doesn't shout. It waits. Claire finally moved. "Turn that off," she said. Not soft anymore. Sharp. Desperate. I tilted my head slightly. "Why?" I asked. Silence. Because there was no answer. Only truth. And truth doesn't negotiate. The room wasn't on her side anymore. It wasn't on mine either. It was on the side of what they just heard. And that was enough. Claire's perfect image. Cracked. Right there. In front of everyone. And the worst part? I hadn't even shown everything. Not yet. I picked up my phone. Looked at her one last time. And smiled. Not wide. Not cruel. Just enough. Because she understood it. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning of her collapse. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. Because for the first time, everyone saw exactly who she really was. This story contains fictionalized elements for entertainment and educational purposes. People expect revenge to feel loud, explosive, final. But the truth? The most satisfying endings. At a quiet. Because when everything is over, there's nothing left to prove. I didn't play the rest of the recording. I didn't need to. Because the moment Claire heard her own voice echo in that room, the illusion was gone. And once people see the truth, they don't unsee it. I left before the night ended. No dramatic exit. No final speech. Just a calm walk out the door. Because power doesn't stay to argue. It leaves. The fallout started the next morning. Not publicly. Not loudly. Quietly. The way things really fall apart, Claire's calls stopped being answered. Meetings postponed. Invitations disappeared. The same slow isolation she tried to build around me, wrapped around her instead. Except this time, no one was guiding her out of it. Because the one person she trusted most had been using her all along. Herself. Daniel tried to come back. Of course he did. 3 days later, standing in the doorway like nothing had happened. I made a mistake, he said. Simply. Predictable. I looked at him, really looked at him. And for the first time, I didn't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, just clarity. You didn't make a mistake, I said calmly. You made a decision. Mistakes are accidents. You lied on purpose. Silence. Because he knew I was right. You chose her. I continued. And now, you don't get to choose again. No yelling. No emotion. Just truth. And truth lands heavier than anything else. He didn't argue. He couldn't. Because there was nothing left to defend. The divorce was clean. Faster than anyone expected. Because I had already prepared for it. Accounts separated. Assets secured. Everything in place. Because while they were planning how to replace me, I was planning how to survive them without losing a single useful thing. Long before they realized I knew. Claire tried to reach me once. A message. Short. Carefully written. I think we should talk. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it. Some doors don't deserve closure. They deserve silence. Because there was nothing left to say. She had spent months studying me, trying to replace me. But in the end, she never understood one thing. You can copy someone's life, but you can't become the person who built it. Weeks passed. Then months. And slowly, everything settled. But not back to what it was. Better. Stronger. Cleaner. I moved into a new place. City view. Glass walls. Quiet mornings. The kind of space that reflects exactly who you've become. Not who you used to be. My work expanded. Bigger opportunities. Better connections. The same network Claire tried to control now chose me. Not because of what happened, but because of how I handled it. Control. Clarity. Silence. That's what people remember. One afternoon, I ran into someone who used to know her. She's not doing well, they said quietly. I nodded once. Not surprised. Because when your entire identity is built on control, losing it feels like losing everything. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. Because this was never about watching her fall. It was about making sure she could never rise the same way again. That night, I stood in front of the mirror. Not checking. Not adjusting. Just looking. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Not the woman who had been lied to. Not the wife who had been replaced. But the one thing they never expected. The one thing they could never control. The version of me that didn't need them at all. I picked up my iPhone. A message waiting. Unknown number. I didn't think you'd win like this. I smiled. Because that's the thing about winning. The best kind doesn't look like winning. It looks like peace. And peace is something no one can take from you. Not a husband. Not a best friend. Not even the people who tried to rewrite your entire life. In the end, I didn't have to ruin them. I only had to stop protecting them from the consequences of who they already were. And I simply became someone they could never touch again.
This content is entirely fictional. Any similarity to real persons or events is coincidental. This video is not news, not a documentary. It is presented for creative storytelling purpose only. AI-assisted production.